From the Ticats Audio Network, this is Ticats Today with Steve Milton.
It's Monday, June 17th. This is Ticats Today, and I'm Steve Milton. Well, it's the day after the night before, and of course we're going to dissect the Ticats. Well, heartbreaking is one of the many adjectives you could choose. 33-30 loss to the visiting Saskatchewan Roughriders in the home opener at Tim Hortons Field. We'll hear from head coach Scott Milanovich on a few aspects of that game, and we'll talk to a couple of Ticats who had, despite the final outcome, excellent evenings. Both Levi Mitchell and defensive lineman Brandon Barlow. And we'll even get into whether a team needs to, quote-unquote, learn how to win. So, first of all, it was a very entertaining game. And here's the nuts and bolts. And we won't sugarcoat them because they'd be too crunchy. And besides, you probably know them already. When you have a team down, you have to keep them down, and the Ticats did not do that, allowing the Riders to score 10 points in the final 2 minutes and 11 seconds, including a far too easy touchdown march by Trevor Harris and his right arm to tie it after they were pinned up to their own 15-yard line. There they faced a 2nd and 17, which they converted with an 18-yard completion, and they were on their way. Still, after the ensuing kickoff after the touchdown, the Ticats had game-tying touchdown. The Ticats had plenty of time to win and came out throwing. But Levi Mitchell's low pass to a diving Tim White somehow popped off the receiver and straight up into the hands of linebacker C.J. Avery. A few seconds later, as the scoreboard clock struck 0-0-0, like midnight in Cinderella, Brett Lother hit a 43-yard field goal, his fourth of the game, to drop the Ticats to 0-2 on the season. Now, here's one of the parts of the no-sugar thing. It's the fourth straight year the Ticats have gone 0-2. That deja vu isn't dire, but it's not that great either. The Ticats, playing complementary football, had outscored the Riders 17-0 in the second quarter and led 27 at the half. And they were still up 10 points into the fourth quarter and looking good. But here comes some more sugar-free fare. Saskatchewan outscored the Cats 16-3 in the final 15 minutes, just as they outscored the Elks 21-3 in the final quarter last weekend, which, let me see, that makes it 37-6 in the final two quarters this year. And now the Riders have headed back to the Prairies for their home opener next Sunday against, the Ticats. You might say they're a little confident right now. The Ticats and their fans were obviously down after the sudden turn of events, and we've come to learn that you can usually count on Milanovich to describe things the way they are.
No, there's nothing you can say after a game like that that's going to make it all right. They know that, and that's basically what I said to them. There's some other things that went on as far as sticking together, continuing to improve, all those team-type things, but there's no magic words that you can say to a team after a loss like that.
White, the Ticats' primo receiver, had 4 catches, including a very tough one in traffic to set up a first down for the Mark Leggio field goal that would give the Ticats a 10-0 lead or 10-point lead in the latter part of the game. But for the second straight week, White also had a drop of a touchdown pass, and there was the unfortunate turnover, the Cats' only one of the game, that not only thwarted the Ticats' chance for a dramatic win, it set up the Riders' second dramatic win in a row.
Yeah, Tim is a good player, an elite player, and you just keep feeding that guy the ball, and eventually, he's going to come out on the other side. He also had a great catch on 2nd and 7 that was a bang play where he got hit, that allowed us to go for it and I think get that final field goal. It was a big play. So, yeah, you said it. There were several key plays. There wasn't one play that wins it or loses it, and all 3 phases have to do better in the fourth quarter to put a game away, and give them credit. They came back and did what they had to do.
Mitchell said he was pumped up that there were still 43 seconds remaining when he got the ball back. He recalled that he's executed those kinds of late winning drives 15 or more times in his career, and he praised Milanovich for having him come out throwing. And he knew that Leggio has been reliable and that they'd have to get to only about the Saskatchewan 43-yard line to kick the winning points. Here's his initial take on that final pass of the drive.
I think it's twofold. I think it's 12 trying to be smart. I think he saw the coverage as well, and he's trying to catch the ball and get down. I'll never pretend to know what it's like to be in that position, and his natural athlete is just taking over, right? So I'm just going to, first thing I did was walk up to him and just tell him, like, 12, you're the best on the team. I'm coming back to you in that situation every single time. Like, that's never going to change, never going to falter. He's my guy. Everybody in that locker room loves him. And hey, I told him, listen, I've thrown a pick to lose a Grey Cup. I threw 5 picks in Ottawa last year, and as soon as I was ready to come back in Sask, like, I'm ready to go, right? Like, just, it's tough to move on. I get that, but he'll see it, he'll learn from it, and this team's going to stay together and pick him up.
Mitchell completed 27 of 38 passes for 380 yards and touchdowns to Kiondre Smith, Stephen Dunbar Jr., and Shemar Bridges, and kept plays alive with his legs and his CFL smarts. But he acknowledged that this was one that got away and that should not have.
Well, yeah, of course. I mean, I think anytime you get on the team early, keep the lead at half, keep the lead going into, a minute 40 left in the fourth quarter there. But that's the CFL. That's what makes the game so exciting, so amazing is, there is always the ability to make a comeback. And I just hope, we learn from that as well, that if we're ever down in that situation, just like we were last week in Calgary, like we have the ability to make that comeback, make it happen. So we'll get together, offense, defense, special teams, have those guys watch film individually, and look at ourselves, right? Like I'm going to look at myself and find out how many plays that I could have been better on that could have kept us on the field. Maybe being too safe at times, like whatever it was, right? Like go back and just kind of and learn from it and just get better.
There were several Ticat negatives in this game, as there usually are in a game that which you lose, highlighted by the inability to make critical late-game stops, the improbable interception at the end, not having a real answer to Jareth Stearns and Keon Schaefer-Baker, who each went over 100 yards in receiving, taking 100 yards in penalties, well, the Riders took 115 yards, and being unable to establish the kind of attack by power back James Butler, which helped him amass a league-high 119 rush yards last week. He was restricted to just 27 yards and a dozen carries, although he did catch 5 passes. But there were also numerous positives, including 4 sacks, 3 of them by Brandon Barlow, the last of which created that 2nd and 17 from the Riders' 15 that should have put the game away, but didn't. Most of the game, the defense looked much improved from the previous week, but Barlow himself was dissatisfied.
I definitely think we took a step forward, but it wasn't enough. None of us in the locker room are fans of moral victories. The job's got to get done. It didn't get done, so we got to evaluate what we got to do to get it done next week. Go 1-0 next week, learn from the mistakes, but our focus is to keep getting better, because if you're not getting better, you're getting worse. So we're going to focus on that so that next week you're going to see a better Hamilton team.
There were still many things to build off, one of which was Mitchell building off last week's strong second half and looking more and more like the Mitchell of his Calgary heyday, particularly in using his footwork and his arm as game knowledge to extend plays with help from the offensive line. There was the work of the receiving corps. Kiondre Smith had 6 catches for 119 yards and his second touchdown in 2 games. Stephen Dunbar Jr. had 3 for 73 yards, including a brilliant pattern into wide open space for a touchdown. And rookie Shemar Bridges continued to impress with 6 grabs for 72 yards and a touchdown. There was some tremendous razzle-dazzle in the third quarter directly after a turnover was negated by a fairly obscure rule that the recovering Rider player had lost his helmet. The response was immediate and electric. Mitchell got the ball to White, who gave it to Butler, who gave it back to Mitchell, and who threw deep to Smith. There was the return of injured cornerback Jamal Peters, who played his first game as a Ticat and was tested early by the Riders and passed that test. Running back Ontalitra was perfect again as short yardage quarterback. There was Legio's accuracy, 2 special teams tackles apiece from Peters, Tyler Tarnowski, and Robert Panabaker, and 178 combined punt and kickoff return yards from Lawrence Woods III. And a bit more. Some good tackles by the secondary. The front held Rider power back A.J. Willett to just 32 yards on 11 carries. And there was a great pass knockdown by Canadian linebacker Trevor Hoyt, a guy I suspect we're going to hear much more from as the season wears on. With all of that, and you can insert the sound of Ticat Nation sighing here, the Ticats still came up a little short where it matters most, on the scoreboard. That, of course, led to the question of whether this team, with lots of new players, needs to learn how to win.
Absolutely. Yeah, learn how to win, learn how to finish, learn how to be great, right? Like I think sometimes some of those big plays can happen and then everybody's like, all right, cool, we're good, we can coast, or hey, I'll just wait on the next guy to make the play rather than thinking like it's my job to be locked into my detail and the play that I have and make sure that I'm ready when my number's called, when both throws me the ball, myself when I'm throwing the ball. I think it's something that this team is like. I mean, we are going this way. I understand we're 0-2. But we played a good team in Calgary. I think you saw last night, them competing in BC. That's a very good football team. We just played another good football team. So we're going to keep getting better. We got some young guys in this team. I'm going to do my part to, be a old vet and keep leading these guys and just make sure we right the ship.
We'll turn again to Milanovich to conclude that discussion and this episode.
I think probably any team has to learn how to win. And, we need to find a way to get this one done. This is a game that you feel like when you walk out of it, this is one we should have had.
Thanks for listening and for watching, and you can catch a print version of our game breakdown in the news section of Ticats.ca. Please join us again on the Ticats Audio Network for tomorrow's episode. This has been Ticats Today, and I'm Steve Milton.
This has been Ticats Today with Steve Milton. Catch it on Spotify, YouTube, Apple Podcasts, and anywhere else you get your podcasts.